I guess a little backstory is helpful. How did you end up being a single father? What happened to the mom and all that?
So, all this started back in 2016. I we got separated. I found a couple messages on her phone, and I didn't have to look any further to to know that she was cheating on me, right? And she's the one who filed for divorce. Uh, how do I say this? I didn't get to see my kids for several months. It was really hard, and I picked up drinking for a while, and then I had to stop because I thought to myself, if my if I'm gonna see my kids again, would they want to see me in the current state that I am right now, or do I want them to see me as the best possible version of myself? So I had quit drinking for a while, and a year ago or 2 years ago, we were still fighting custody over in the courts, and my ex-wife had told me that I was allowed to see the kids for a while, right? And she pretty much at last minute she said no. And that day that I was supposed to get the kids, my best friend and I were supposed to go out, with our kids because he has a daughter, and he was murdered that day.
Oh my gosh.
And
What happened with that?
yeah, it was and that we were supposed to hang out or whatever, right? But I guess he went to go do something else. I didn't get the kids, and he was murdered. And
Was it
that's when
was
I
it just
started
like a
picking up.
random crime thing or someone he knew or what?
Uh, it was they went out hunting or something. Yeah, they went out hunting, and I guess the people he was with, he trusted them, I guess, and that's pretty much what happened. And
So, but it wasn't like a hunting accident, right?
no,
Wow.
well, it's classified as that, but you know, when you grow up in a rough neighborhood, you know, there's certain things that the police know about or they don't know about that the neighborhood does. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does for sure. It does. Wow. Well, I'm sorry to
So
hear that, of course.
that was really hard for me. He used to live a block away from me, so we would hang out all the time. And then one day I just get the call and he's gone, and that's what pretty much started my alcoholism again. And right now I have full custody of my children, and it's I drink a lot, but it's not to the point where I'm drunk driving. You know, I try to be careful with that because I'm with my kids, 24/7. So I don't let that. I don't want to put my kids in that danger. I don't want it to escalate to that point.
And how did you end up with full custody?
So in 2018, I managed to get Monday through Fridays for my kids because I told my ex-wife uh, she was working full time. I work. You can call it part time. So I get but I work 7 days a week. So I work every day. I don't have any days off, but I only work like 5 hours a day. So that allows me to spend more time with the kids. So I pretty much told her like, hey, if you don't let me be in the kids' life, I'm gonna sign my rights away, and you're gonna deal with them full time. And because she wanted me to keep paying child support. I couldn't take it anymore. I was barely surviving myself.
Well, and you weren't
So
really seeing
that
your kids, right?
you're right,
Right,
right.
right.
So the ROI wasn't really there for me.
Right.
So that got approved in 2018. A year later, which is a couple months. I think it's in February of this year. She took me to court, again because she wanted to reverse the custody. So for me to get them on the weekends, because she was getting them now on the weekends,
But she worked during the
and
week, right? So how could she?
right,
Okay.
right. So, but the courts out here where I'm located, you know how it is, with the feminism and the male patriarchy, all of this, they uh they supply the mother an overabundance of resources, and you're pretty much guilty until you're proven innocent, and that's how I viewed it in
Right.
the court system.
Right.
Thankfully, the judge, well, there was a judge that was in charge of our case for a few months, and she kept bringing putting these obstacles for me to jump over, and then she had an emergency, and they had to replace the judge with a man, and he pretty much ruled like, "Hey, this is unnecessary. All this what you're going through, the custody stays the same, right?"
Wow, that's like falling out of an airplane and landing in a swimming pool. That's a deep swimming pool. That's some good luck right there. But sorry, go on.
So and back in so after that happened, I would say June. Yes, it was June. My kid, I have three kids, right? The 5 year old came home with a bunch of bruises, right? And I picked them up from mother's from grandmother's home care,
Oh boy.
and I didn't notice till a few hours later, and I noticed a bunch of bruises all over his face, like in the back of his ears, his body, and I asked him like, "Hey, what's going on with you? Why are you all bruised up?" And he told me that mom's boyfriend have been hitting him and picking him up by his ears and doing all kinds of abusive kind of things.
Man, I am so sorry about that. What a gut busting emotional experience that some other man is manhandling your kids. Man, that's I mean not you not that you should be doing it obviously, but oh man, that's a punch. That's a punch in the ass. Like I'm so sorry. That's brutal.
And that was really hard for me. I had a, I was gonna do, I was gonna commit some stupidity, but thankfully people came around. They were like, "Hey, calm down," But I called CPS, right? I called Child Protective Services. They came and interviewed all three children, and I also found out that he was hitting my other two children.
Uh,
So that
did your
that
did
was really
your ex-wife know about this, or was it when she wasn't around, or well, she
sh-
would have seen the bruises, right?
right. Right. So the thing is, she's a child development specialist.
Uh,
So she's a mandated reporter, and she knew all this was going on.
oh,
And
so if she sees evidence of child abuse, she has to report it, right?
correct.
All right, and so it was happening in her home, according to what you say,
Right.
and she didn't report it. Oh man! And then
I didn't know she was a child development specialist. So we haven't spoken in years, right? We'll speak
oh,
here,
so
here and
she
there,
got
but
this after you were married to her.
yes,
All right,
yeah,
and
I
you
because
of course like you've only been communicating through lawyers, and okay, I get it. All right.
correct. So I go through all that. The social worker, and this is going out throughout the week. This happened on a Monday, And as the week is progressing, I'm telling the social worker, like, hey, I need something to be done about this because once Friday comes around, the kids, according to the court order, they got to go back to mom's. And I don't feel safe with my kids going back to mom's, right?
Well, especially if the
If,
boyfriend was angry, right? If the boyfriend was angry about them telling or you finding out, I mean, the fear then is like additional punishment is going to pour down on the kids, right?
correct. Yes. So the social worker gave me, she told me, okay, she pretty much asked me if the kids stay with you full time, would I be willing to accept that how do you call that responsibility? I'm like, of course, they're my kids, and she told me to go file a police report, and I don't know the boyfriend, I just seen him, I just know him by face. I didn't know his name last. I didn't know none of that, right? So I told the social worker, the child protective services social worker, I need his information. She gave it to me. I filed the police report, and at the police department, they were shocked because it came back that the mom's boyfriend is a police officer.
Wow.
So, and I have high risk. I respect the police department, the police officers, but on top of that, it came back that he was a police officer. You know, so that really it was really hard on me.
Oh man, I
So
like again just massive sympathies, brother. That is unbelievably brutal to go through, and I feel for you, man. I really do. I just want to make that very clear. But sorry, go on.
thank you. So Child Protective Services did an emergency. Okay, let me go back a little bit. They pretty much told mom like, "Hey, we do believe your boyfriend was abusing your children. You need to kick your boyfriend out if you want the kids to have overnight stays." And she said, "No way, that's not gonna happen." She took the boyfriend's side,
Oh man,
and they
it's
did an
funny because these
emergency.
in these
Yeah,
stories things rarely get better, but I'm still a little shocked at sometimes how bad it gets. But sorry, go on.
yeah. So she pretty much said no way, and they did an emergency custody removal, which was for like a week or something like that, because they needed to set up an emergency court hearing. But then the social worker told me that the kids needed to see their mom according to the law, right? That weekend. So the meetup was at grandmother's house, which is mom's mom. And I told the social worker, like, hey, what if they interfere with the investigation? I don't want them to start brainwashing my children to say that they made everything up. And she says, "Okay, we're gonna make that clear to grandma and mother that they're not allowed to do that because it's gonna get worse for them, right?" So they went over to grandma's house for a few hours on Saturday and Sunday, and then they were evaluated on the following Tuesday, and they found out that mother and grandmother decided to try to convince the kids to say that they were lying about the whole situation and they had made everything up. So
That part
that
is,
that right
that
there.
part is not overly shocking, I suppose, but risky on their part. So sorry, go ahead.
Uh, I wasn't really surprised either, but it was shocking to me why. Why would someone take the side of someone? Why would they protect someone else besides the children? That that to me itself was uh was shocking. But that was a few months ago, and then we lead up to today. Right now, she has supervised visits because of that incident, monitored and supervised twice a week for an hour each day. She's not allowed to have any type of contact with the children. Right now, our next hearing is in March to see whether the courts find it safe for the kids to go back to the mother's house. And so yeah, that's
But it's hard to
that's how I
see. I
got
mean,
full custody of
again,
the
like
children.
I'm no lawyer or anything like that, but if the boyfriend is still there and they've already tried to convince the kids that they should retract their stories, then I'm not sure how I could see it becoming like a safe environment for the kids.
Well, she claims that the boyfriend isn't there, so that's what the courts are going based on. And I was speaking to my attorney, like, hey, she pretty much said a few days ago when this all first had happened, she's not willing to kick the boyfriend out, and now the boyfriend is out of the house. You know, and keep in mind he's a police officer, so he's a mandated reporter himself too.
Right, of course, of course. Holy crap, man! What a mess! What a mess! What a mess! How are the kids doing?
They, the my daughter, she she's a daddy's girl. She loves to spend time with me. She tells me she doesn't want to go back to mom's house because she says, "Oh, all mom does is put the TV on for us, and we sit at home all day. We don't do anything." So she's already moved on. She's really mature for her age. She's 7. So that in itself bothers me because a 7-year-old shouldn't be worried about that. They want to be kids.
Yeah, no, you hear this.
The
Oh,
five
mature
year
for the
old,
you hear
which is
this
the
kind of thing
smallest one,
like
he's a boy.
you hear this kind of thing like, oh, she's so mature for her age, but usually what I hear is, man, she's having to grow up pretty fast, right?
Correct. And the 5-year old, he has a rough understanding, what's going on, but he seems pretty happy. The 8-year old is the one who the older one because he experienced both of us living together. You remember. So does my daughter. The little one doesn't really remember, and he misses his mom a lot. And I told him, like, you have to understand that your mom didn't protect you when you needed to be protected. You know, I tell my kids I don't bring my girlfriend around you guys because you know I don't want anything like this happening. And it's just I don't know if I make any sense.